They say Hollywood is full of secrets, but Gene Hackman's story might be the most unsettling of all. He vanished from the spotlight without warning, left behind rumors of secret recordings, and spent his final years keeping watch for threats that never quite went away. Let's dive straight into the strange details. Sudden exit, missing tapes, suspicious surveillance, and unanswered questions that still linger. Gene Hackman wasn't just any actor. He had multiple Oscars, a towering reputation, and a career that other performers would kill for. Then, at the height of his fame, he walked away from it all. No glamorous farewell tours, no heartfelt goodbyes, just a silent retreat to Santa Fe, New Mexico. People close to him said he couldn't stomach the underhanded tactics in Hollywood. For years, he'd endured the backroom dealings and forced camaraderie. When asked if he'd ever come back, he would only shake his head. He seemed convinced the system was designed to reward silence and crush anyone who spoke up. Within months of his disappearance, rumors spread. Whispers claimed he had material, possibly tapes or written evidence, on powerful figures who ran Hollywood like a private, unspoken club. Allegedly, these individuals made or broke careers overnight. Hackman, it seemed, had seen enough to know the price of crossing them was too high. Stories about Hackman's secret tapes still circulate among industry veterans. No one has ever confirmed their existence, but multiple sources swear he recorded phone calls, backstage conversations, and after-hours negotiations that made his skin crawl. These rumored tapes supposedly capture veiled threats against promising young actors who refused private invitations, discussions of payoffs for award season votes, explicit bargaining where roles and nominations were traded like currency. Some claim Hackman gathered these recordings as a form of self-defense, evidence he could release if anyone tried to pin false accusations on him or ruin his credibility. Yet, if these tapes exist, they've never surfaced publicly. That alone has led many to believe a powerful force stepped in to ensure they stayed hidden. Not long after Hackman settled in Santa Fe, neighbors began noticing strange cars idling near his property at odd hours, windows tinted, no one emerging to knock. Sometimes they'd linger for half an hour, then vanish into the night. Friends who visited mentioned seeing him glance out the window every few minutes. He was never outright fearful, but he was wary, like a man convinced he was being watched. When pressed, he'd say something like, "Hollywood doesn't like loose ends. I'm one of them." His meaning was clear. Powerful industry figures might want to keep tabs on him, just in case he decided to reveal what he knew. One particular neighbor mentioned Hackman receiving plain envelopes with no return address. Occasionally, they contained only a single sentence typed on white paper. "We see you." Hackman never spoke publicly about those letters, but the locals who saw them felt uneasy just looking at the unadorned text. One friend recalled him tearing up a note and flushing it down the toilet, muttering, "I'd rather not give them the satisfaction." Hackman reportedly felt that Hollywood didn't just deal in films, it dealt in loyalty. If you stayed quiet about the wrongdoings you witnessed, doors opened. If you stepped out of line, you saw opportunities suddenly vanish. He sometimes called it the revolving door of punishment, because those who angered the system would mysteriously find themselves out of work, blacklisted, or smeared in tabloids. He also implied that major awards weren't just about talent. He believed Oscars could be orchestrated, traded like poker chips. One source claims Hackman once turned down an offer to campaign for a role that was guaranteed to secure him another trophy. When he refused, the people behind the offer quietly labeled him difficult. He had no desire to play these games, yet walking away entirely was its own risk. Some say he collected proof of these manipulations before leaving, hoping it might protect him if the Whisper Network ever decided to strike. And that leads us back to the tapes, allegedly his ace in the hole. Late-night calls to Hackman's landline became an unsettling routine. Witnesses recall the phone ringing at 2 or 3 a.m., with Hackman answering in a calm but tense voice. He rarely mentioned what was said, but afterward he'd sit silently, occasionally jotting down notes on a legal pad. A friend who stayed over once reported picking up the phone by accident. The voice on the other end simply said, "Put Gene on." Now. No introduction, no courtesy. Spooked, the friend handed the receiver to Hackman, who took it into another room and closed the door. The next morning, Hackman dismissed it, calling the conversation industry nonsense, and refused to elaborate. Others suspect these calls were warnings, either to ensure his silence or to see if he was considering a return to the spotlight. Hackman's repeated response, in his own words, was, "I'm out. Don't push me." In his last weeks, Hackman made a flurry of phone calls to old associates. Some were producers he'd once considered friends. Others were actors who'd also distanced themselves from the spotlight. People close to him say he was trying to confirm certain details, likely about the scandalous deals he'd witnessed. But many of these people had either passed away or refused to talk, possibly fearing the same retribution he did. He grew visibly frustrated. His cousin mentioned overhearing him say, "They're all gone," or "They're too scared." It's unclear what he hoped to accomplish. Some believe he wanted to compile enough first-hand testimonies to go public. Others think he was just seeking closure, hoping to verify that he wasn't alone in his distrust of Hollywood's power brokers. After Hackman's death, family members who cleared his Santa Fe home noticed something missing. For years, he'd kept a battered suitcase tucked away under floorboards or locked in a trunk. Inside, he supposedly stored cassettes or documents. The family had seen it plenty of times, but never opened it. Hackman guarded it fiercely, yet when authorities arrived, the suitcase was gone. No sign of forced entry, no stray footprints, nothing. The rest of the house remained tidy, as if no one had touched a thing. The only object missing was that suitcase. Some speculate Hackman sent it elsewhere before he died. Others assume it was taken by those who never wanted the contents made public. To this day, no one knows who took it or what exactly was inside. All that remains is the ominous fact that the one item Hackman guarded most closely disappeared the moment he passed. The moment Hackman's death was announced, the official narrative was simple. An aging legend dies peacefully after years of retirement. Hollywood offered polite tributes, praising his iconic roles. But behind the scenes, not a single industry leader publicly addressed the rumors of intimidation or bribery. It was as if a collective hush fell over everyone who might have known more. Some interpret the silence as relief from those who feared Hackman might expose them. Others see it as Hollywood's well-honed ability to bury discomfort under a flood of award shows and box office excitement. If the tapes were real, and if they were truly gone, there was nothing left to worry about. However, a handful of people claim to have glimpsed the truth. An anonymous former director hinted to a reporter that Hackman had the power to destroy careers. Another source alleged that Hackman's refusal to play by certain rules is what prompted those repeated warnings. Yet none of these insiders ever came forward with concrete proof. For many, anonymity was a shield against retribution. Hackman wasn't the only one who distanced himself from Hollywood. Several contemporaries also vanished under unexplained circumstances. Some retired abruptly, others faced scandal after scandal until they faded from public view. A small circle of older actors even formed a quiet support group, meeting secretly to trade stories of deals gone sour and controlling executives. Hackman's circle, though, shrank alarmingly fast. As he dialed old phone numbers in his final days, he discovered that many of his once trusted peers were either deceased or living off the grid. Some died in bizarre accidents, car crashes, or sudden falls in their own homes, events Hackman apparently called too convenient. Did they know too much, or is that pure speculation? Whatever the reality, their departures only deepened Hackman's conviction that walking away was the safest option. He once confided to a neighbor, "If I stay, I'm next on the list." Gene Hackman's passing sparked a wave of tributes, but left the biggest questions unanswered. If he did record conversations, what happened to those tapes? Were they destroyed, hidden, or quietly sold to protect certain reputations? Did he plan to expose Hollywood's dirtiest secrets, or were the tapes merely a safeguard in case anyone tried to frame him? We're left with an unsettling possibility that a man of Hackman's stature felt so cornered by unseen forces he had no choice but to vanish into a reclusive life, yet still couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. His final phone calls and the missing suitcase hint at a last attempt to tie up loose ends, or maybe to outmaneuver the machine that never really let him go. Some people hold out hope that one day a journalist or confidant will release the tapes. Others believe they're lost forever, destroyed by whoever seized the suitcase. Either way, the real story remains buried in half-spoken rumors and second-hand accounts, locked away in the dusty corners of an industry that markets dreams but runs on power. In the end, Gene Hackman died with an unsettling reputation for having seen too much and chosen silence rather than confrontation. For anyone who thinks Hollywood's biggest scandals revolve around petty gossip or questionable casting decisions, his story suggests something far darker. He was the actor who walked away, refusing to play along, and evidently found no peace, even in solitude. If the tapes are ever uncovered, they could validate everything he feared and reveal how deeply the system is rigged. But if they remain lost, or if they never existed, his legacy lives on as a cautionary tale about the cost of seeing behind the curtain and the lengths to which hidden powers will go to keep their secrets. Perhaps he believed that by staying quiet, he could at least preserve his own sanity in his final days. Or maybe he hoped someone else would eventually stand up and blow the whistle. For now, the only certainty is that Hackman's life became a lesson in the high price of defiance and the heavy silence that shrouds those who dare to look too closely at Hollywood's darkest corners.